Yamaguchi Society Show. I'm Natsumi Yamaguchi, today's host, and then today we have a special guest here, and Chris and Nick. They're actually researching about the society. Their research is a difference between the Indonesian and the Westerners. Their question is what do you value? They have three subjects, and then they asked each 20 people, Indonesian and the Westerners. They collected data and analyzed it. So today, they discuss their result. So what did you find based on your research?
Okay, so just to summarize the survey, we made a survey and we asked a bunch of people that grew up in Western cultures and Indonesian cultures to rate what they valued from 1 to 8, which was most important. And our findings were that family was the highest in both Western and Indonesian cultures. So from that we can see that that makes sense because humans are social creatures. We live in groups, and our family is the first group that we grow up in, that we are first introduced to. So family is most important, and that makes total sense. The second most important for Westerners was friends, and that showed a big difference between the Westerners and the Indonesians, because in the Indonesians, friends was not rated as highly as it was in the Western societies. However, in Indonesian societies, religion is valued as the second most important.
Really?
Yeah, that is something that we noticed, and that's actually quite surprising because it's surprising because religion is supposed to teach you about morality, but Indonesia is known to be one of the most corrupt countries in the world. So why is it so ironic that such a nice country has such a high level of corruption?
In all the other parts, everything was kind of equal. If you take a look at sleeping, that's valued pretty much the same, because the people we have interviewed and questioned were all students. So of course, students will value sleeping pretty much the same. Everyone loves to sleep. When it comes to education, also quite similar. There's a slight fluctuation in when it comes to your job and your profession. Indonesians value that a little bit higher, while Westerners prefer spare time. And the difference is pretty much the same. So, but the major fluctuations or differences, as Chris talked about, were in religion and in friends. Now we'll move on to the next topic, which is what people rather would spend their money on. So again, we had 8 different categories, and people had to rate 1 to 8 on what they would rather spend their money on. If you look at the charts, the major differences are in socializing, hobbies, and charity. The reason behind this, we think, is, or let me start off with socializing. We think socializing is higher in Western cultures because in Western cultures people tend to go out to drink more and tend to go out to party and to the clubs a bit more often than in Asian cultures. That's Indonesia for now. Because in Indonesia, going out, clubbing and drinking is something that either they're not allowed to do by their parents or not allowed to do by their religion. And actually saw in the previous chart, religion was higher in Indonesia, which will prohibit them from going out and drinking. That makes sense in this graph as well. In terms of hobbies, the reason that has the biggest difference between Indonesia and Western cultures, and the reason I think that is the case is because Indonesian parents tend to drive their kids more into business-oriented professions, business or healthcare or hospitality-oriented professions, when your personal hobbies, let's say arts or music or acting, those are things that aren't seen, not less important, but they are seen as something that won't be able to land you a stable job in the future. While in Western society, the parents tend to be a bit more open and allowing, like, you know what, if you want to try it, go ahead. While in Indonesia, it's more of the mindset of, no, I want you to do something where I know you at least can make money, which is more important. And then finally, charity is way higher in Indonesia than in Western countries. And this is probably because Indonesia is a developing country, and Western countries tend to be developed countries, right? So Indonesia would have more charity to be done. I think there's more beggars on the streets, and even giving 50,000 or 10,000 to a beggar on the street is considered as charity. So more people will be doing charity here because there's more charity to be done, and that is why we think that is the difference. Finally, moving on to the last one.
And this one was more for fun.
Yeah, this is pretty much a
Which
jokey
country is
one.
it from?
This is
So this one is about what would you look for in a partner?
so basically, if you're looking to date someone, what is more important to you? We have 8 categories here as well, and we kind of analyze that. But interestingly, the results from this question kind of reflected the results of the other 2.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you look at the major differences, it's in monetary stability, looks, and religion. Those are the 3 major differences.
Yeah. We think that religion is a difference because that is what they value in their personal lives. So of course that will also reflect in what they are looking for in a partner. When we take a look at the looks, Western societies tend to value more of the physical side than the spiritual side.
The religious side.
Yeah,
They
that's
tend
right.
to focus more on looks, and maybe it's also the media coverage in Western countries heavier in terms of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What I talked about before when it was about how Indonesians' parents tend to push their kids towards getting better jobs,
Yes.
you can see that in the monetary stability. As you can see, Indonesians tend to want to focus or have a partner that has money, that has a stable income, which reflects
Their values.
the values and which reflects what they would rather spend on, which is not the hobbies, which is not the business. And that's pretty much it. When it comes to the other categories, they were pretty much the same. Popularity was the least in both of them. That's something that people don't really find that important. And the main 2 things that people found most important were personality, intelligence, and then after that, similarities. And that's the research we did, basically. And if you look at all 3 of them, they all interlink in some way. They all affect, or you can see some sort of pattern in all of them. And there is definitely a difference between Western and Indonesian cultures, that's for sure.
So Indonesian people more focus on the family, religion, and the money, right?
Yeah.
So sorry everybody, and it's time to finish today's show. Yamaguchi Sociology show is every week invited every new guest. So thank you for coming today, Yannick and Chris.
Thank you
And
very much.
everybody, please look at the next show. Bye.
Bye. I think that was a